Michael Chandler. You know, you never know who you're going to run into in Las Vegas.
You never know.
I was at the library last night, bumped into you there,
Yeah.
suggested maybe do something tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Miracle I made it, but here we are.
Mm-hmm.
They finally announced it, finally being the operative word here. It took them long enough, but we got there.
They did, yeah.
Just give us the emotions based on finally having the official date.
Yeah, I mean, it's the official, right? I mean, you, myself, there's been people maybe behind the scenes who have been in the camps who knew this was going to be the date for the last couple months. That's what we've been targeting. Obviously, the way the media is these days, the way fake people are online putting out fake information, ups, downs, Conor trolling here and there. It was a lot. There was a lot of layers, right? But this was the date that we knew it was going to happen the last couple months. But now it's never really official until Dana actually says it. And then the way Dana said it, I don't know if you watched it. He was like, "Hold on, I'm getting a note right now," and he starts reading it. So it was like the most anticlimactic way to announce a huge fight, almost like he just said it and then just moved on, which was actually kind of funny. So here we are.
Yeah, it was funny. I don't know if you were the same as me, right? So I had obviously had an inkling it was coming this week, and the press conference came and went, and I was like, oh, okay, so obviously on the broadcast. And the broadcast came and went, and I was like, oh, okay, Instagram video afterwards. Then nothing. I was like, God damn, what's happening? And then obviously he just got a note during the press conference.
Well, kind of like the Super Bowl thing too. Remember, if you remember, they were talking about the Super Bowl and the UFC 300 was going to be announced at the Super Bowl. I mean, the way the UFC has grown and how big it is, and then obviously a fight of this magnitude. I mean, there's just going to be so many layers and so many people talking and speculating, and I think the UFC has fun with it. Conor and I have had fun with it. Here we are. But I'm glad Dana finally said it yesterday, even though it's been inked now for a little while. But here we go.
Before we get into the fight itself, I just wanted to take a moment to say I found it quite funny that like you had all these people constantly going like, "Oh, you're an idiot for waiting. You're wasting your career," as if like the pot at the end of the rainbow wasn't going to be worth it. For you personally, I know that you've always felt sure in your convictions of waiting for this fight. Now that it is happening, are you kind of just happy that you can be like, see everybody, maybe I'm not an idiot, maybe I just did have an idea what was going to happen?
Kinda, yeah. I mean, and that was the thing, and I've said this. I had too much reassurance behind the scenes that this fight was going to happen. Yeah, maybe we were going to get done with the Ultimate Fighter in August, and we were hopefully going to fight in September here. That didn't happen. Then December didn't happen. Then obviously April 13th, UFC 300 last night. There was a bunch of different dates that it could have happened. So I get it. But no, I mean, I knew this was the fight that I wanted. This is a fight that Conor and I have agreed to. We already did the Ultimate Fighter. If me and Conor don't fight, the Ultimate Fighter means nothing, right? Traditionally, the coaches fight at the end of the Ultimate Fighter. So we still had that. And now it's just, now we got a fight going, and we got two dudes who are about to take each other's head off. And I knew all along that this was going to happen. And I heard the criticisms, but I also took it as a compliment. There's no doubt in a lot of people's mind that I'm the most exciting guy who steps inside of the octagon, right? The ferocity I bring. We watched it last night with the BMF belt. That was fun, but there's very few guys in this sport who come forward, they come to fight, and they bring something different when they step inside the octagon. And I just take it as a compliment that I know there's millions of people out there who think that about me. So a lot of them got upset because they haven't been able to see me compete in the last 16 months. But we're 76 days away now. So
77 we were shouting at each other last night.
It was 77 last night. So 76 days.
Has your attitude towards it, because obviously you've said I'm going to finish him in the second round, I believe. Has your attitude towards that changed with the longer the wait's been since the Ultimate Fighter? Like the more you've had time to think about it, has it changed, or have you just sort of kept it the same? Like, no, I see a fight going a certain way, and that's why the outcome is what I'm saying it's going to be.
No, I still see the outcome the same way. I think I'll put him on his back foot in the first round. I'll make him second guess himself in the first round, start drowning him in the first round, and finish him in the second. I don't know if it's going to be a KO or a choke, make him give up his back, his neck. But I think it's going to be a second round finish, and that has not changed. That's my Mystic Mike prediction.
They're throwing belts around these days. Can we get a belt for this fight?
I'll tell you what, man. I mean, that was one of the rumors as well, right? The 165 belt. Obviously, that has not happened.
Some of these rumors, by the way, were just like, where are these people conjuring this up?
But, that's why we all love to talk. And then even me in this position, I'm like, man, I would not be surprised if all of a sudden that bout agreement comes over and it says for the 165 title. You never know, because the UFC has to keep a lot of things secret, even to us, right? I mean, even you saw Conor broke the announcement again before the UFC did it. And I'm sure the UFC said, hey, don't do it because we're going to do it at post-fight press conference in typical Conor fashion. But, so they want to hold a lot of the information. We knew the date, but obviously I didn't even really know. I knew what the weight class was most likely going to be, and then they sent it over. So, yeah, it should be for a belt, but we'll see if we can't make one up.
Well, the Mystic belt, Mystic Mac versus Mystic Mike, there you go. I don't know what the fuck that would look like, but there you go. Thoughts on the weight class? Obviously it was like sort of targeted. There's 185 thrown out there for a little while by Conor, but what are your thoughts on the weight class, and how do you think you're going to perform at 170?
I think 170 is perfect. 155 is not easy to make. So fighting at 170 is going to be kind of a perfect camp, honestly. I weigh about 190. Getting down to 170 is kind of going to be easy compared to 155, obviously. So I think I'll compete phenomenally there. I'm still going to do the exact same camp. I'm still going to get my weight similar to where I would be at 155. I just won't dehydrate myself at the end. So I want to stay big. I want to stay strong. I want to stay explosive. So I think 170 is going to be perfect.
When people like Conor has obviously become this sort of massive figure in MMA and in mainstream sports as well, star of Roadhouse, don't know if you know that. Yeah. Fighting him is not just an opportunity in terms of your fight career. Obviously, like being on a press conference with Conor, you have an opportunity to promote yourself in ways that you might rarely reach in MMA. Do you think about that when you look at this fight and just think, hey, I've got brands I can promote, I can use this opportunity to build myself? Or are you thinking, if I go out there and beat one of the biggest fighting names in the history of the sport, that'll propel me as a fighter?
Yeah, I think it's a double-edged sword. It's both things. This is the total package, right? So there's gonna be a lot of eyeballs. We're gonna have a lot of promoting probably that we're gonna have to do, and every opportunity to speak about this fight. Even the last 16 months or whatever since The Ultimate Fighter, every single day has been an opportunity to talk about this pie-in-the-sky fight that is probably most likely going to happen at some point. But now we can finally say June 29th, this is going to be the fight in Las Vegas. So now that it's more solidified, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be interesting. Obviously, it's a bigger stage, bigger press conference, more eyeballs, bigger light, brighter lights, bigger platform than I've ever been on. So it's going to be an interesting experience, and it's going to be fun no matter what. So
you got to hang around with him at The Ultimate Fighter, and there was obviously a little bit of pushing and dragging on that, but it seems to be that, and which, by the way, you laughed at, which made me laugh every time we watched that clip. But it seems to me that there's a mutual level of respect here, and I think that almost makes it more fun, right? Like, we've seen the dark side, we've seen the funnier side, but it'll be fun to be like, oh, I like this guy, but he also has to die on June 29th.
Yeah, that's what I like it that way too. Anyway, I like to have a lot of respect for I respect anybody who does what we do for a living. When we make the sacrifices that we make, we embark on the danger that is going to ensue when that cage door closes every single time. And obviously for Conor, he's at a different rung in the sport when it comes to what he has done, how he's revolutionized the game, how he's changed the game, how everybody's making more money, everybody has more eyeballs on them because of a guy like him who has trailblazed in a lot of ways. So you're an idiot, and you're way too egotistical if you don't admit that about what Conor has done for the sport. With that being said, obviously, I have a ton of respect for him, but like you said, June 29th, I've got a job to do, and I've got a job to do to the best of my ability, and I believe that's going to be finishing him in the second round, and it's going to be a lot of fun between now and then.
I'll end on this because I know you have a flight to catch and I have to go back to bed, but just outside of the Conor thing, obviously you were at UFC 300 last night. You saw the Gaethje Holloway fight. They had a reaction of all the fighters, most of them freaking out, and you almost weren't reacting. You just stood, stared at the camera, and said, "Holy yes." What was your take on that fight? Obviously, the insane finish Max did, and just everything about it.
Yeah, honestly, my first instinct was praying to God that Gaethje was going to get up and be okay, man, because it was a tough one to see the way he crumbled. And then also, it's just one of those things where that's why we love this sport, man, and that's why we love guys like Gaethje. We love guys like Holloway. I'm one of those guys where people are watching. The onlookers are watching, and Gaethje could have just been like, forget it, man. I'm just going to tiptoe around for the next 10 seconds. I probably lost the fight. I think he would have been down on the scorecards, but goes out there, slings leather, completely reckless abandon, and gets absolutely flatlined. So it's yeah, man, it was crazy. That was obviously the best part of the fight. The last 10 seconds was, the best part of the fight. I think he got his nose broken in the first round. But, man, hats off to Max. Max would be a guy I would love to fight for that belt at some point. Obviously I got a job to take care of here in 76 days. But, man, I would love to fight for that BMF belt eventually, too. And the lightweight belt as well. So
I was going to say, no matter what happens in June, I feel like you're not ending this career without fighting for a BMF belt, mate. I think it kind of has your vibe all over it.
It's kind of, I don't like to, probably my biggest downfall is I'm not the greatest self-promoter when it comes to telling people exactly who I am and how I operate. But there's nobody who embodies the BMF belt the way that they fight more than me. So I'll let my fighting do the talking, and I'm sure people will be talking about the BMF belt when I dispatch of Conor in June. But we'll see. And obviously, you're going to have Holloway and Topuria fighting. Is that going to be for the 145 title? Is that going to be for the BMF belt? Are they both going to be on the line? Who knows? But yeah, looks like the BMF belt will be in my future. Just don't know when.
Congrats on Israel Adesanya adopting you, by the way.
Yes, that was awesome. You know, just adding people to the family. You know, you can't unchoose family. That was hilarious. There's another picture of me holding him in my arms like a baby too that same night. So it was funny. He said, "Plot twist. I adopted Mike." So, and then I was walking by last night. I was leaving the arena. He said, "Hey, Dad." So it's just funny, man. You can't take life too seriously. And that is.
You walked in and I was next to Dan Hooker, and I had to look at Dan and be like, "Is it okay to be nice to Mike?" And he was like, "Yeah, he beat me fair and square. Go on."
Yeah, well, and
apparently he's my dad, I guess.
No, dude, and that's the guys like Dan Hooker, man. Those are the real ones. You know, rewind. A couple years ago, I came into the UFC. Poirier said no. Ferguson said no. Those guys were both in the top 5. Dan Hooker said yes. Without Dan Hooker saying yes, braving the unknown of fighting this guy who, let's be honest, to a lot of these guys who were established, I didn't deserve to fight a top 5 guy, right? Hunter wanted it. Dana wanted it. That's what we agreed on. That was what was going to happen. But Dan Hooker was the one who gave me the shot, gave me the opportunity, just like Holly Holm last night. Holly Holm didn't need to brave the unknown and take the chance of fighting Kayla Harrison, who was coming in a relative unknown. But it's those type of people, it's those type of fighters that, man, you just got a ton of respect for. So, yeah, Dan's one of my favorite fighters, right? You know, so those are the best kind in the sport, and got a ton of respect for him.
Have a safe flight home. Have a good camp.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll see you plenty of times on the road to this in fun fight.
I'm sure we will see a lot of each other over the next couple months. So can't wait.
Congrats, mate.
Thanks.
Appreciate you. Boom.